everyone, it's Tracy, Temperance Tarot, and it's time for my October deck roundup. I'm going to start today with my Kickstarter-backed Brady Tarot, and again, the lighting is I've gotten to the point where lighting's not very good, so this box is, I can tell on my phone, it's reading a bit redder than it actually is. It's actually, I would call it an oak color. It's a warm blonde brown. It's not, there's no red in it. But yes, I backed the Brady Tarot on Kickstarter a while back, and I backed it early on. You know, there weren't very many images available when I backed it, and if there had been more, I probably wouldn't have backed it. I can't say it's not a beautiful deck because it is an absolutely gorgeous deck. The book is nice. I think because it was Rachel Pollack, maybe I was expecting a little more, but it's really very good. I think my expectations were maybe just a little too high with this one. It's a very lovely deck and a very lovely book. It's primarily card meanings. It's not much beyond the card meanings. But the card meanings are very good, very insightful. Talk about the animals that are shown in the cards. It has a little bit about how to do a reading. I don't want to break it open too wide because I do think that I am going to pass this one on. And I always mean to say this in these monthly wrap-up videos, but I always seem to forget. If you are interested in any of the decks that I say I'm going to be passing on, or I'm even thinking about passing on, you know, if I'm kind of on the fence about it and you really want it, reach out to me and we'll see if we can't come up with some sort of an arrangement. Because the decks that I have, that I am letting go of, that are in print and easy to get, those are actually going to my local witchy shop, and she's selling them for me on consignment. So I don't imagine that if anybody wanted to get the Everyday Tarot, which I'm going to come across in a minute, which actually I'm not getting rid of, you just go out and you buy one. You don't necessarily do a trade unless you want to do a group trade. But for things like this Brady Tarot and other things that may be a little harder to get, absolutely. If I think I'm on the fence about it, or I've said I want to pass it on and you're interested in it, contact me. I generally, if I sell them for about half retail. And if you're in the US, I don't generally charge for shipping. Now this one's heavy and is going to be cost a little more to ship it. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I do want to show the deck rather than just ramble on about how I didn't connect with this deck. This is a deck that I'll show you in a sec. But it comes in this gorgeous, glorious box because it was so heavily funded on Kickstarter and they reached so many of their stretch goals. We got a whole lot more than we were expecting. And there's the reason that I backed the deck, that card there. But I backed this, it's got to be over a year ago. And at the time, I hadn't really realized and figured out that animal decks aren't for me. I did not know that it was going to be quite so colorful. And generally, I like colorful decks. But I think in this deck, it would have worked better to have less color. Like this, I think that's got too much color in it. I think that for me, the cards are a little bit busy. You know, this is perfect. I love this High Priestess card. It's got a touch of brown, and the image is clear and not too busy. Did I say I didn't know there were going to be keywords? I don't remember now, but I didn't know there was going to be keywords on it. And it does appear that she changed the elemental correspondences in my mind. We've got feathers, horns, arrows, and roots. Feathers are fire. Horns are water. Arrows are air. And roots are earth. And that's not what I would have done. I definitely would have had feathers as air and arrows as fire. But you can tell when you get to those cards, like here is the 7 of arrows. So that's the 7 of air, which is comparable to the 7 of swords. So you have guile here, and you have the little squirrels stealing the arrows. So yeah, the correspondences are different from what I would have done it. See, like here is the Ace of Feathers, the One of Feathers. It's called Inspiration. It's clearly fire. So, you know, it's not hard to tell that, yes, this is fire. But you get too many of these cards all in a row, and to me, just for me, it starts getting chaotic and hard to follow. Look at this one. This is the Seven of Horns. And it's just so busy that I can't focus on any one thing. There needs to be some white space in these cards. All art needs to have a place for your eye to rest, or a focal point for your eye to go to. And with these cards, many of them, now not all of them, because that's a good one. There is no specific focal point or a place for your eye to rest. And I need that. Here's the Seven of Feathers, Power. So it's the Seven of Fire. Seven of Wands. This one, the Two, Armistice. So yeah, the cardstock is beautiful. It's that matte that we're all loving so much, almost maybe a little too matte to where the cards kind of cling to one another. The gilding on the side is that matte gilding that's absolutely exquisite. The production of this deck is absolutely stunning. It is just, it's not a deck that I'm going to use. It's really not. But I do want to find the one card that, and the keywords aren't particularly Thoth or Rider-Waite. They are Emmy Brady's interpretations of the cards. So that's actually kind of nice. This is it, the Hermit. If the whole deck looked like that, I'd probably be keeping it, because there's a clear focal point. It's not too busy. There's not too much color. And this is a Major Arcana card, so obviously the Major Arcana cards have titles. The Death card is quite nice. Let's see, this one, just too busy, too much color. I can't find a focal point. I can hardly see the keyword. The Sun card is also very nice. The majors, I think the majors are my favorites. I used this deck for about a week. If anybody is interested, let me know. Anybody who missed the Kickstarter. I did buy also the pint glasses with the artwork on them. Those are not part of the deal. I'm keeping those. Alrighty. My Halloween oracles that I used, or my Halloween decks that I used this month. I used my Robert Place Vampire Tarot and the Halloween Tarot. Now, I'm not going to show this one. Everybody's seen this one 100 million times over Halloween. It's a fabulous deck. I did black the edges with a Sharpie. I think it looks way better with the edges, with the borders black than white. I did a pretty crappy job of it, but that doesn't matter, I guess. I'm thinking about buying another copy and doing the edges again a little more carefully, the way Tom Benjamin described, taking a piece of paper and making a crisper edge. But I probably won't pull it out again until next Halloween anyway. So, but love that deck. That's definitely a keeper. And this deck I wouldn't give up if you gave me $100,000. Well, maybe $100,000. Actually, if you paid for my roof. My roof got damaged in Hurricane Michael. Well, not really. Hurricane Michael uncovered some damage to my roof, and I'm going to have to pay $9,000 for a new roof. So if you paid for my roof, I'd probably give you this tarot deck, but otherwise, no. I love this deck. I particularly love the court cards, who are actual people that Bram Stoker knew. This is all about Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's not other vampires. The pip cards are kind of pippish, but also have a scene on them, a little bit of a scene on them, that helps you, really does help you understand what's going on. It's completely its own system, but it does tie in. It's not really its own system. It takes Bram Stoker's Dracula and very cleverly ties it into the tarot system. So, you know, this is the Eight of Swords. This is the Seven of Swords. It's so fabulous. Van Helsing is the Hierophant, the Moon, the Sun. Here's the Knave of Holy Water, which is Carmela, which is a character from a vampire story that was pre-Dracula that inspired Bram Stoker. And then, of course, you have the Pamela Coleman Smith card, which is, that's so fabulous. And then Henry Irving, Franz Liszt. The Two of Cups, you have a scene from Dracula where Lucy's getting some of Arthur's blood to replace her own. It's just fabulous. I did not trim it, but I did very slightly round the corners because this deck came with really pointy corners, and I don't like really pointy corners. I always poke myself with them. So I did take a corner rounder and very slightly round the corners. And of course the book is what it's all about. Robert Place explains everything in the book. It's just a fabulous deck. But again, it's a Halloween deck for me. I probably won't pull it out any other time of year. But it's definitely a keeper. It's going nowhere. I used the Heart and Hands Tarot this month. I am not sure if this one is still in print or not. This is a deck, a self-published deck that I got off of Etsy. It's a really cool deck. Pull out some cards here. All the pips are a little pippish, but they all have hands in them, hence the Heart and Hands Tarot. And a lot of them you'll find heart shapes kind of implied or slightly woven into the images of the cards. Like this is the Nine of Pentacles. If you pull your imagination, you can sort of see a heart shape there, and you've got two hands. It gives me kind of a 70s psychedelic vibe. Here's the Fool. He's fabulous. And this deck has my favorite magician ever. He's an actual magician. You see like the Four of Pentacles. I wouldn't dream of trying to trim this one. I think it needs that white space around it. Plus, you know, it's kind of bled over the edges. And you could trim it based on sort of the back if you really wanted to. But I wouldn't dream of doing that. And I love the World card. Look at this, the Two of Swords. You've got two hands shaking hands and two hands clasping swords. So you've got a bit of conflict there. Sorry about the heat coming on, making noise. I'm also doing laundry because it's been, see, like here's the Ten of Cups. You see that, the hands, and you see the heart. It's just beautiful. But yeah, it's been a bit of a challenging month for me. My mom had some back surgery and was in intensive care for 3 days, and I'm working on, you know, taking care of her and taking care of her needs, and I just haven't had any time for videos, and I barely had time. I did make time every day, at least a half an hour. I took a half an hour every day to do my card pulls. So let me see if I can find that Magician. That's a Death card. Isn't he great? Okay, here's the Magician. I love this Magician because he's got all this creative, you know, energy with him, with the paintbrush and the palette, and he's got the cards, the 4 aces. So he's got the winning cards, but you see he's got a couple of cards up his sleeve. So he is not just the creator, he's also the trickster, and I love that about that Magician. So there you go. That's the Heart and Hands Tarot. Labor of Love, created by Liz Blackbird. And I did get it off of Etsy. I don't know if it's still available. I just knocked the box on the floor. I was having a sad day and I needed some retail therapy. And so I went out to Amazon, and I had absolutely no intention of buying this deck. This is the Everyday Tarot, sort of created by Bridget Esselmont, but produced by Running Press, who did the Terra Nova. This is a really nice little deck. The little book, you know, it's very basic, and it comes out. You can pull it out. You really can't, I mean, that's just useless. Why they couldn't put, you know, a real box together, I'm not sure. But it was like $11 or $12. It was ridiculously inexpensive. I think it's a little smaller than playing card size. Would be great for large spreads. You can see I can get a whole bunch of cards in a row here to show. Very basic Rider-Waite-Smith clone, only uses 3 colors, purple, gold, and white, and is eminently readable. I mean, it's an easy reader. If you know the Rider-Waite-Smith system, you're gonna do just fine with this deck. The thing I think that surprised me the most was the quality of the cardstock and the matte gilding on the edges. It's that matte cardstock it's not too matte, it's just nicely matte. And they're just the right thickness for shuffling. And it's just a lovely little deck. It would be great for a beginner. It would be great to stick in your pocket to take with you someplace. Just wish they'd done it, you know, because the box is hard, other than using this plastic to hold it together, which isn't going to work. I think I might try a little experiment with it and tape the top closed, and then take an X-Acto knife and cut around the opening here so that I can close it like this, and then, because it's got a little magnet, open it and dump the deck out. But we'll see. I haven't had time for much of that lately, but you need to see how this one shuffles, because I was just really impressed with the shuffling. And if you've got small hands, this is ideal. I don't have small hands. See that? Just beautiful, beautiful shuffler. So I think this one's going to stay in my collection for a while. I don't know that as inexpensive as it is, you know, I'm not going to try to trade it or sell it to anybody. So I used my Rider Tarot Deluxe for a little while this month. You know, this is the Rider-Waite-Smith, but I got this deluxe version that is, you know, shiny gilding and interesting different backs, but it's the Rider-Waite-Smith. But the cardstock is, I don't know, it's just a little different. I'm thinking this is late 80s, early 90s. And it shuffled very well. Obviously, this is long out of print. But yeah, it did a very good job for me. Very nice. Now this deck, if I'd had some time this month, I would have come on and done a separate video about this deck. This is the deck that came from the Spirit Halloween store in the United States. I believe it's called, you can also get it on makeplayingcards.com. It's called the Fantastical something or other. I'm gonna go look it up, hang on. Okay, you can find this deck on Make Playing Cards, called the Fantasy World Tarot Deck. And there are a couple of different editions of it. But we had it available in the United States, printed differently by the Spirit Halloween store. And the cardstock is obviously not as good. I started using this deck and had a couple of issues pop out at me and get pointed out to me about this deck. That it does have this card in particular. Calling the Knight of Swords a barbarian and identifying him as Native American was not okay. And once I really appreciated that, I couldn't use the deck anymore. So I am probably just going to get rid of this deck. I'll keep the box because I can use the box for something else. If she had stuck strictly to fantasy creatures, I probably would have been okay. I don't know what I'm going to do with this deck. I might try to use some of it I mean, the art's nice. But I'm not going to use this as a reading deck. It's just, it's not what I'm looking for. Although it was kind of interesting to find a deck like this at a Halloween store. Anyway, this deck is going to find some other purpose, use. It actually comes in a pretty decent little box here that I might repurpose and maybe put some, you know, wrap it in some other paper so that it has a prettier outside and use it for another deck. I got the second edition of the Delos. I did a walkthrough of this where I compared it to the first edition, and I used that this month, and it is absolutely precious, just like the first edition. I do think I like the first edition a little better in most aspects, but I like the second edition too. And I think I talked about doing one day when I get some time, I'd like to create a shadow spread, or not a shadow spread. I'd like to create a mirror spread. You have one set of cards on one side that have one meaning, and then you have another set on the other side that have reflection meaning, and you use two decks for it. And using two decks that match each other, I think, would be really interesting. So I would do, you know, this set of cards from the Delos first edition and this set of cards from the Delos second edition. I just haven't created it yet because of the time I have not had to myself this month. But this is a great deck, and if you didn't get lucky enough to get a first edition of the Delos, it's a very nice second edition. I did not use many Oracle decks this month. I got the Fairy Oracle new, the Arthur Rackham, Jamie Elford from Los Scarabeo. This is not going to be a workable deck for me. It's beautiful. The artwork is gorgeous. Because, of course, yes, it's Arthur Rackham, and we love his stuff. But I didn't get anything intuitively from these images. And when I went to the guidebook, sometimes the image with the message that they'd come up with in the guidebook made sense. Sometimes it didn't. This just isn't the kind of Oracle deck I'm looking for. So let's look at, like, this one, number 3. You have some figures floating across the sky. It looks like you've got some goblins or something down here below. Let's see what they say for number 3. And there's only, you know, this is Los Scarabeo, so the English ends on page 29, and you've got other languages. So number 3. And there is a single keyword, like this one is Night Watch. I think it would have helped to put that on there, but I'm not sure. Ghostly figures float through the night skies. They look down upon the land dwellers, moving silently among the rocks. This is the Night Watch, and they guard and protect you while you sleep. They see all. Meaning, there are times when we don't feel secure, that the world may be falling apart. Look to the Night Watch and know that despite what you're feeling, you're safe, you're secure. They will protect you from the unknown. You have a close support system. All right, maybe I'm not getting rid of this deck. I don't know that I gave this one enough of a chance. I was having a challenging month, and things that required a little bit more introspection and a little more thought, I wasn't quite capable of handling them in October. So I think I'm going to give this one a second try in a month where maybe my resources aren't all tied up taking care of somebody else, and I can focus on myself a little more. Yeah, so we're going to hang on to this one for a little while. Like I'm more than one person. Okay. Vibrational Energy Oracle Cards, 52 card deck and guidebook by Debbie A. Anderson. I got this one from, it's independent, and I got it from, the store with at least 3 names in Omaha, Nebraska. I think online they're called Magical Omaha. They sell a lot of independent decks and lots of witchy stuff, and I order from them fairly regularly. They've got really great customer service. As a matter of fact, they have a mystery box that's like your subscription boxes, except it's not a subscription. You just go order one for the month whenever you want to. You don't have to do a subscription. So I have got their November gratitude box that I have ordered. And you can order different sizes. You can order a 25, a 50, a 75, or a $100 box. And what I thought I would do was order the $50 gratitude box and then wait 3 or 4 months before I got another box, because it'll probably have more stuff in it than I need. But anyway, that's the store that I got this from. I don't know where else you can get it from. I'm sure there are other places. But I love this Oracle deck. And part of it might have been that I started using this deck earlier in the month before all of my energy was sucked away to something else. But I got intuitive hits off of it. I love the messages in the book. I even love this digital collage artwork. It's just, this is a fabulous, fabulous deck. So let's pull a card and I'll read from the book so that you can get a feel for it. I'll do just doing a random from what's left. And we have Spiral Coil, which is one I actually pulled. So here you have the sacred geometry of a spiral coil of it's probably some sort of fern. And then they're in here alphabetical order. And after the spiral cord, there's one that's called the F word, and it's not what you think. The F word is whatever you see it as at this time. No excuses. Fixated, frustrated, fasting, fool, forgetful, fat, foreplay, frightened, fanatical, forgotten, fugitive, forgetful. I love that. But here's Spiral Coil. Are you wound up so tightly that you could snap at any moment? Or are you springy and flexible, moving in harmony with Mother Earth? If you're not adaptable, you'll break. Now is the time to unwind, release, and reset the spiral coil that holds you together. Be in balance with the vibration. Be in balance with the vibration of gentle and flexible movement. So, I just needed to hear that. That with the one card that we pulled from the Fairy Oracle, there's 2 messages I really needed to hear. I'm being looked after, and I need to unwind and get a little bit more flexible. Love this deck, though. This deck's going nowhere. Only problem is the box is kind of glossy and sticky, and when I first got it, I had a really hard time getting the box open because it stuck to itself. But as I've used it, you know, I can do a little shake and get it, and it'll come apart. And then the last Oracle deck that I used this month is another keeper. So go figure. This Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards, I am not a big Angels person, but I so fell in love with the artwork that I had to have this deck. And I love it. The guidebook is fine, but I don't really need it because the artwork is so evocative and emotional. And the keywords are, you know, the keywords and the people on them and the images are just enough to give me a fabulous message. And, you know, everybody and their brother has talked about this deck recently. It's fabulous. And again, you know, I had the same problem that everybody else did with that paper wrapping and it flicking up the edge. But who was it? It was Holly at Cape Cod Creatures who did a little tutorial about how to use some fabric glue and a pen and glue it back down. And it worked beautifully, beautifully. So thank you, Holly. So yes, I love this deck. Their faces are just so expressive. I love an expressive face. Who was it? The one that I really loved the most. I mean, they're all fabulous. See, I'm gonna kind of ignore the wings because I'm really not an angel person. This guy, look at him. Look at him. he is so, I don't know, loving and accepting and just, I can't even put into words everything his face says to me. So definitely a keeper. So that means out of all of the decks I used this month, I've only really got 2 that are definite no-goes, and that's, well, definite no-goes. Yeah, definite no-goes. And that's the Brady Tarot and the Cheapy Spirit Halloween Tarot. So thank you so much for watching. I am going to try to knock out a few more videos today and put them up over the course of the next week. I have got a couple of new decks that I want to show in case anybody's interested. So thank you so much for watching, and have a fabulous day.